And we're testing, and we're testing. And we're testing, and we're testing. Okay, welcome. It is actually officially New Year's Eve. Let's give it a few minutes. Let's wait to see who joins. I have talked about thus far my Masonic highlights of 2025, and thank you all for being part of that. I have also shared with everybody my, at least some ideas or suggestions I have for Masonic resolutions for 2025, suggestions I would have, and how you can achieve them if you want to. I mean, I guess what I'd say is take your Freemasonry to quote unquote the next level, define as you will in 2026. So at this point now, we're just going to hang out, wait to see who joins. Don't forget, tomorrow on my personal YouTube channel at 11 p.m., we're going to be counting down the new year together. And I hope that you guys will join me for that. In the meantime, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and I hope that you are doing well. Hello, MX Casey. How's it going? Thank you for joining. I think you might be new to this stream. I don't know if I recognize your name. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button and let me know how it's going. Anything you want to chat about when it comes to Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear. Oh, actually, let me just change something here quickly. There we go. Let me know if you have any plans for New Year's. If you're a Mason, do you have any Masonic New Year's resolution plans? All that good jazz. Hello, MK. I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. I do not know what pi para means. Oh, hold on just one sec. Somebody's cranky outside. Give me 1 second. Thank you all for being here, but I just got to go check on something quickly. Give me one moment. I'll be right back. Thank you so much. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Somebody's cranky outside of my door. Well, not outside my door, but in the hallway of my apartment complex. But I think we're going to be okay. Who knows? I think we'll be good. Thank you, MX Casey. Hello, Mr. Avitelli. Thank you for being here also. I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, any plans for the new year, all that good jazz, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear it. Apparently, welcome, Mr. Keeps. How is the sickness going? How is the altitude sickness treating you? I hope that you're feeling better. My dad was a Freemason. I have a Masonic ring. I've showed it off on the channel before. I actually got it from my I think it was my grandfather gave it to my father, gave it to me. I am an actual Freemason. I've been a Freemason since 2007, which is crazy to think it's been that long. It's been almost 20 years, which I can't believe it's been that long. Well, first of all, good for resting, good for being on electrolytes. Do what the doctor tells you, rest, take electrolytes, take your meds, all that good jazz. I've never had altitude sickness, but I imagine it's not fun at all. Especially not fun when you're traveling and all of the that's the word I'm looking for. Like when you're traveling, I suspect it's especially dangerous, at least, or not dangerous, but uncomfortable. At least when you're at home and you're, by your, when you're at home, it's better to be sick in some ways because you're at home, you're more comfortable. When you're traveling and you're sick, you just want to be back home in your bed, if that makes any sense. I am consistent, Mr. Whale. At least I try to be. DMLA, awesome, Avitelli. DMLA is a wonderful Masonic youth group. It's for young men, if I recall correctly. And let me know if I'm mistaken, Avitelli, but I believe the ages are from 11 to 21. DMLA is an excellent Masonic organization and a wonderful part of the Masonic family. Um, I don't know where Scruffy has been. He comes in and out. Do you have any advice for insomnia, Nam? I don't. I'm actually have struggled with insomnia at different times in my life as well. I think my best piece of advice I would give is if it's goes on for a while or if it's trying to impact your day-to-day life, I would say talk to your doctor um, about it. Otherwise, if it's something that is stressful or like you think it's being caused by stress, try to figure out what the cause of the stress is and if there's anything you can do to deal with it. Um, would be my best advice for whatever it's worth. Silent Rob, thank you for being here, Silent Rob. Before you go, please hit like and subscribe. MX Casey, I can give you a shout out. I was a stonemason and an alcoholic. Well, I hope that the was means that you are no longer an alcoholic and that you're getting help for it. And maybe you switch professions. I have a lot of respect, though, for stonemasons. It's a ton of work and it's not easy. So if you were a stonemason, all the, nothing but respect to you um, for all of the work. Well, what I would say is be careful with any type of medication, melatonin gummies, or everything else. Make sure you're talking to a doctor. Welcome, Douglas from Gulf Breeze, Florida. I am doing very well. I hope you're doing well also. I've never been to Gulf Breeze, Florida, but I have been to Orlando several times. Florida is a wonderful state. I cannot stand this, but what I can ask you to do is hit the like and subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Um, MX Casey, same thing. If I'm giving you a shout out, please hit like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear it. Actually, I'm going to make this a poll question. Was Detective Loki in Prisoners? 2013, a Freemason. I actually remember seeing her a year ago. Welcome back. Well, Popsicle, the advice I always give to people if they are struggling finding me, what you need to do is make sure that you turn on your notifications. That's the most important thing, right? So when it comes to your, if you're subscribed to my content, if you enjoy my content and you want to make sure you don't lose it, the best thing you can do is hit the notifications bell. That way, whenever I'm streaming and doing a live stream, you're able to find me because you'll get a notification on your phone. Sometimes you can even get a notification through your email. So turn on those notifications. Only about 10% or just 10% of my subscribers have their notifications turned on. So just keep that in mind. I have no idea what any of that means. Yes, sir, but please hit like and subscribe. I don't think I have ADHD, but I've never been diagnosed or never been tested, so who knows? Um, well, those are stonemasons with the bricks. But if anybody stole your cat, you should call the police. Please hit like and subscribe. LIL. Please hit like and subscribe. Tiger Boy as well. Douglas, same thing. Freemasonry has helped the world through those endeavors, but it helps the world through many ways as well, including providing a social safety net for its membership, which means they don't need to rely on government support. They are instead able to rely on Masonic support that frees up government resources for other people. Civic and civil society, it's not that one is more important than the other. Rather, it's that both must find a way to interact with each other together. A strong civic society allows for a stronger civil society, and a stronger civil society allows for a stronger civic society. Um, I will take it, Kudmap. I mean, I'm a very handsome fella, so if you think I look like Brad Pitt, I will take it. Most people think I'm very ugly. Please hit like and subscribe in honor of me looking like Brad Pitt. And to everybody watching this, I hope you're going to have a wonderful New Year's or New Year's Eve and a New Year's Day. If you're doing anything Masonically for New Year's, please let me know. Like maybe your Masonic Lodge is holding a special celebration um, or a special Masonic event. Tuning in from the Rocky Mountains, Allie. Awesome. Freemasonry has some really cool connections to the Rockies. I mean, when I think of the Rocky Mountains, I think of like Colorado, I think of parts of California. Where from the Rocky Mountains are you from? Well, don't be sharing your address on stream, your local Spurs. Let's not be doing that. No sharing of any addresses on stream. I don't want people sharing too much personal information on here. Um, we're just hanging out. Oh my gosh, well, so many movies have Masonic hints. I mean, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, um, From Hell, starring Johnny Depp, The Man Who Would Be King, U-Turn, if I recall correctly, or Wrong Turn, movie with Sean Penn. A lot of times, just to make something interesting, the director or like an actor um, will give a character like he'll wear a Masonic ring or he'll have a Masonic symbol on. They won't actually reference whether he is a Mason or not. They'll just give him the ring to wear as a like little piece of flavor or shading on the character. It's really fascinating. Um, yes, that's very good advice. You can't be afraid to fail. I think you can oftentimes learn a lot from your failures. You can learn as much from your failures as you can from your success. Um, Very funny, Mohammed. What I hope you won't procrastinate with is hitting that like button and that subscribe button. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Let me know how it's going. If you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear it. Never procrastinate though on hitting the like and subscribe button. Out of curiosity, let's hear what people are saying. More people think Detective Loki was a Freemason than wasn't. Um, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Prisoners in such a long time, so I can't speak to, um, I can't speak to the movie in terms of. I remember liking it, but it's been so long. But I do remember seeing the ring on Jake Gyllenhaal's fingers. V me. We may live in a simulation, but that doesn't stop you from hitting the like and subscribe button. Roy quits. There are 14 Masons. There were either 14 or 15 Roy quits, but you're close in your number. 14, I think, is oftentimes the accepted number. I think you could even argue as high as 16, depending on whether you want to count Joe Biden or not. Um, I did not know that the Freemasons were the first to colonize Antarctica, but that's cool. Many Freemasons have been explorers and part of the Navy. I've argued in the past Freemasonry is the story of um, stone and water. It's a fascinating combination of the two. So it's very fascinating. Um, if you're counting him, then I think it's 16. Anata Life, I don't know why Big Macs are so expensive, but I'll tell you what's so not expensive. Hitting the like button and hitting the subscribe button. That's absolutely very free. So if you want to do that, I hope you will do so. Me, I don't think it's moot. I think it's interesting to me. And if it's interesting to me, then that's important. And I'm not saying that because I'm important. What I'm saying is everybody's important. And if you have something that you're interested in and you have something that you enjoy, whether it's movies, Freemasonry, books, then it's not moot. It's something you should talk about. And Freemasonry, or excuse me, YouTube is one avenue by which we can do so. So I think that's pretty cool. Um, Plot twist. Here's a plot twist. Hit like and subscribe. I don't think either of those things you said is true. Um, oh, I used to know how to say that in Latin and I forget. Virtus non separabit, something like that. Please hit like and subscribe. I would truly appreciate it. Same thing, LOGER. And please, let's just put you in a bit of a timeout for a second. I learned something new about Freemasonry. That's awesome, Roy. I'm glad you do that. I hope what you learn is something that you find interesting. I hope that at least in some instances, what you learn is from Square and Compass promotions, which would be really, really cool. Um, Thoughts on Star Wars? I'm more of a Star Trek guy myself. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy them both, but I'm more of a Star Trek guy if I had to pick one. There we go. That's the Latin. Um, because the world isn't perfect and that causes problems. But you know what you can do that's super convenient and not as inconvenient as the whole hot dog bun situation? Hit like and hit subscribe. Um, Gray Grimly, and thank you so much for being here. Plot twist. Can you spell? I mean, I can, but I'm not sure if I should because I feel like that's some trick. I don't know what the trick would be, but I feel like it's a trick of some sort. You know, it's funny. We got people on the stream who aren't talking about Freemasonry, but they're also not insulting the way I look. So I feel like in some ways it's better than it normally is. Um, Gray Grimly, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. I do these streams Mondays through Fridays, 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. I hope that everybody's doing well. What's going on? Excellent Clouds. Thank you for joining. And Daniel Gonzalez, thank you for being here as well. I hope you guys are doing very well. I hope that you guys are enjoying it's officially, at least here on the Eastern Time Zone, New Year's Eve, December 31st at 1:17 in the morning. I do these streams Mondays through Fridays, 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. 1 a.m. 1 p.m. I have specific topics. Like today, we talked about New Year's resolutions that you can have as a Freemason, and how to achieve them. But this 1 a.m. stream, we're just hanging out and chatting about whatever. Um, Honestly, I dig chick flicks. I dig chick flicks as well. I like them a lot, but I don't think I read your question. Oh, I did. I'm not going to answer that because I have no idea, but I'm sure they have a way. The question is, would it be, I want people to like and subscribe, 2138. Here's a question for you. If this was a simulated reality or a fabricated reality, would you be more interested in joining a Masonic lodge or less interested in joining a Masonic lodge? Or would it not affect your decision making at all? I think I would be the same either way, because whether it's fabricated or not, I still have to live in this reality and deal with what it means to be part of this reality. So I don't think it would make much of a difference to me. I can't do math to save my life, so you're on your own. Um, well, then I guess you're not going to sub because I cannot answer that question. Joshua, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Um, I've never been to that lodge because that lodge does not exist. There's no such thing. I think the Count of Monte Cristo had Masonic stuff in it, if I recall correctly. I haven't seen the Count of Monte Cristo in, oh my gosh, like 20 years. I have no idea how old it was, but um, I think it might have had Masonic stuff in it as well. Well, thank you. I dig chick flicks. I'm going to say this. I dig certain types of chick flicks. Specifically, I dig Hallmark Christmas movies. I'm not ashamed to say I think they're wonderful. So I love Hallmark Christmas films. There's some of my favorites. Lodge comes in. I mean, the Masonic lodges, the numbers are unfortunately declining. I wish that wasn't the case, but they are declining very much, both in America and Europe. Other places they're growing. Um, the holiday, okay, for me, I love all of the Hallmark Christmas films. So like I adore oh my gosh, I adore like Jingle Bell Bride, the Evergreen movies, Christmas on Evergreen, Marry Me at Christmas, Christmas Under the Stars, all those. Um, there's less Masonic lodges and less Masons, unfortunately, but I hope that changes. Who knows? Maybe in some ways I can assist. I have no idea. Um, my goal of this channel isn't to encourage anybody to be a Freemason. It's simply to talk about why I love Freemasonry. Having said that, I'm happy to, if this encourages some people to consider Freemasonry, then I think, all the better, I hope. I have never played bass seed rank for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I think he's saying I look like Flea. Is that his name? Um, Again, I'll take it. Most people say I'm ugly, so I'll take that. I have no legs, so I'm not tall at all. Your local Spurs fan. I'm like 4'11" or something. I'm sorry that laughing and enjoyable moments don't happen anymore. I hope that you can find enjoyable moments once again in your life. Um, I think, honestly, whether things are a simulation or not, I don't think that precludes the idea of being happy and having enjoyable moments. Because if this is all we have, then whether it's simulated or not, your feelings still matter. Your feelings are still real. So I hope you find enjoyable moments once again. Um, well, I mean, I don't know Cotton Hill. Cotton Hill lost his legs in war, right? I was born missing my legs. I'm also much younger than he was. It's neither. It's a way I was born thing. Um, Coy, would it matter if I was in the closet or not? Freemasonry does not discriminate against anyone based on sexual orientation, nor should it. I don't think a National Socialist would be a Freemason because National Socialism is opposed to what Freemasonry stands for. As for communist, I mean, communist is a political belief. I don't see why not necessarily. Hello, good guy activism. Thank you for being here. But I would say in either case, what matters is are you willing, amongst other things, do your political beliefs allow you to sit with people of different races, ethnicities, religions, backgrounds, and work together in harmony? I would suggest that National Socialists, because they would not be willing to sit with members who are Jewish or black or, you know, they're based on their monstrous ideology, I don't think they would make suitable or appropriate Freemasons. Um, I don't know how deep the rabbit hole goes. In my experience, rabbit holes are usually illusory in that what people think are rabbit holes, they get dragged into conspiracy theories that don't actually exist. Um, because people are strange, Pikachu, because people are strange. That's one thing I've learned being on YouTube. People are incredibly weird when it comes to live streams. You just kind of have to accept it. Um, Yeah, I've never met any Freemasons who've described themselves as communist. I've met some who are more left wing, more right wing. You see all different types of political ideologies found within Freemasonry. I can't speak to any of them specifically, though, because Freemasonry is not political. And in fact, one of the rules within a Masonic lodge is there's no discussion of politics or religion while in a Masonic lodge. Um, Well, good guy activism, I'm not so sure about that, but there is such a thing as a subscribe button, and I hope you'll hit it. Um, well, you are incorrect. Illuminati really doesn't exist. Of course, that's what you'd say if you believe in the conspiracies. But Illuminati, it really is a organization that started in 1777 by a gentleman named Adam Weishaupt, who was an ex-Mason, but certainly by the early 1900s, Illuminati ceased to exist in any meaningful way. I'm not saying there aren't still quote unquote groups that are Illuminati, but that doesn't mean that they um, actually are influential or matter in the world in any way. And they're also not Freemasons or Masonic. Plain to code, please hit like and subscribe. Based on my research, Nathan, anonymous person, well, if you're anonymous, how could I remember you? I think I remember the name. I don't know for sure. I get a lot of people coming through, which is wonderful and a great part of the chat, but I don't know for sure. I don't know what Yellow Jackets coins are. The quote unquote the eye, I think you're referring to the all-seeing eye. That is a Masonic symbol, but it's also a symbol for many groups and organizations. The all-seeing eye, otherwise known as the Eye of Providence, is actually part of many different cultures and organizations throughout history. It goes all the way back to ancient Egypt and the Eye of Ra. So, um, what's a yellow jacket? Isn't that like a bird or is that a bee? All-seeing eye. It pops up in so many different cultures, groups, or orders. It's not specific to Freemasonry, but it always kind of means the same thing, which is this idea of whatever you're doing in life, something is watching you. You can call it fate, God, conscience. You can call it whatever you want, but you need to keep in mind doing something wrong with the belief that because nobody sees it, it's okay. That's not how things work. That's not a healthy way to live, nor is it healthy for society. Wasp, there we go. Um, I haven't seen Stargate forever. I vaguely remember it. I remember there's a television show that was on for like 30 years based on the movie, but I never saw that either. Um, I do not speak French, Nathan. Even though I'm Canadian, I do not speak French. I wish I did. I wish I spoke more languages. I've always talked about how we in Freemasonry should try to communicate in more languages than just, you know, like if you're in Canada, we have two official languages. You should be able to communicate in both English and French. I don't think that's a bad idea. Explorer, I'm not Arabic. I was born and raised in Winnipeg. My dad is English. My mom is born in Winnipeg, but Freemasonry welcomes men of all different backgrounds and ethnicities, including Arabic. So, I mean, I think oftentimes hatred comes from people feeling like they have no control. Um, but I think control to a certain extent is always an illusion. That was kind of a stoic philosophical idea. This idea that we have control over anything other than our own thoughts is in many ways an illusion. Welcome from North Dakota. There's Freemasons in North Dakota. There's also Freemasons in Africa. 777, please hit like and subscribe. So I notice you have a Kansas City Chiefs picture. That's not North Dakota, that's Kansas City, right? That was pretty funny, Nathan. Normally I don't like trolls or trolling comments, but that was funny, Nathan. I'll give you that one. 33rd degree, I'm an 18th degree Mason in Scottish Rite, 3rd degree Master Mason. Never made it to the 33rd degree. Maybe one day. I've just been so busy focused on Blue Lodge. Explore, I mean, what I would say is I can't help you with that. This is not the venue. You can do GoFundMe's, things of that nature. Very cool. I've been to Missouri, St. Louis. I think I was also in Kansas City once, but I can't remember why. It's a beautiful state, Missouri. North Dakota, never been there, but heard it's very beautiful. Thank you, Roy Quits. I appreciate that. So, Nikki, I am a Freemason. I am not part of the Illuminati. Illuminati and Masons are different groups. Illuminati is a historical group that started in 1777, about 70 years after the Masons started. They're not the same group. The Illuminati really doesn't exist in any meaningful way. And they were never the same organization. Dr. Dr. Kumar, I'm going to call you Doctor. I'm sure it was a very handsome statue that you saw. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Um, nice. Winnipeg and North Dakota are not too far from each other, if I recall correctly. Um, you're probably one of the few Americans who didn't mind Winnipeg in winter or the cold of Winnipeg. It's one of those things where so many Americans, especially if they're coming from the south, like Florida, they get to Winnipeg and they think it's like the coldest place in the world. North Dakota, at least you guys get some weather that you can handle. So, um, well, I think human beings very often, legend, naturally hold prejudices and, you know, racist ideas. But I also think we're capable of overcoming those prejudices and those kind of racist thoughts. I think we're all better and capable of being better than, if you want to call it base programming, you can. I think Freemasonry is one way that human beings can overcome their prejudices or their kind of prejudgments of other cultures and other groups. At least that's my humble opinion on that. I do not know why this is an outrage, slack job, but that shouldn't stop you from hitting the like and subscribe button, and maybe even considering doing a super chat. Um, so yes, so you get the cold weather. I mean, there's a lot of places that get cold weather, but I have found, for example, in places where, like Florida, Texas, some parts of Texas, they treat snow and cold weather like it's just the worst thing ever. So, or like they can't imagine it. They can't understand how anybody can handle such cold weather. I like Florida. I've been to Florida, I don't know how many times, 4 times. Right now, exclusively in Orlando. Never been anywhere outside of Orlando in Florida, but awesome Masons. It's an awesome place. It's a lot of fun. I love Florida. Hello, Hank. Thank you for being here. Oh, Labrador gets weather. You want to talk about weather? Labrador gets all the weather. Um, so does the Maritimes. Like I was in Halifax a few years ago for a convention in winter, and my heavens, it was cold. The snow was piled high. It was nuts. Hello, Hank. Thank you for being here. Briggs, I quit smoking. I've smoked cigarettes in the past, but it's been years since I've smoked any cigarettes. So, the Batman, what's up? What's up is you should hit like and subscribe. I loved Halifax for the oysters. I love oysters. It's one of my favorite foods. So I went to all different bars and just ate raw oysters and loved it. Um, well, my need is you hit the like and subscribe button, Matt. That sucks. I'm very sorry that, I mean, whenever anybody's anything burns down, whether it's their home or their business, that sucks. So I'm very sorry to hear that. I've at the very least hope that nobody was injured and everybody's okay. Um, at least with property, even though it's a shame when you lose it, you can replace it sometimes, even if you can't. I mean, it's never worth somebody losing their life, that's for sure. Good, good. I do not know who Kyle Franklin is. I am Cameron Adamson. I am a Freemason since 2007. 360X. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I'm very close to getting 3,180 subs. So let's see if we can get there. Like I said, I talk about Freemasonry. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments, ideas on Freemasonry, I can try my best to answer them. I can't make any promises. I don't know everything, but I have been a Freemason since 2007. I know at least some things, and I can also give my experiences on it as well, to the best of my abilities. Um, I do not drink, actually, the Batman. I've never had a drink of alcohol. I drink a lot of coffee. I drink a ton of coffee, and I love pop. I drink a ton of Coca-Cola, but that's about it. Nothing else in terms of no alcohol. Not I have nothing against it. Some Masons drink, some don't. Some lodges allow alcohol in their buildings and at their events, some don't. It really just depends on the Masonic Lodge itself and the jurisdiction. Um, My needs are that you hit that like and subscribe button. Those are my needs. And I hope everybody, I agree with you, Legend. I think everybody deserves the right to free thinking and free thought. I think that it's completely fair to call people out if their thinking is leading them down dangerous paths, either for themselves or others also. Mystic Born, not a huge fan of Manly P. Hall. I've never been a huge fan, and this is me speaking for myself personally, of the esoteric side of Freemasonry. I've always preferred to view it as more a practical application of how to improve the community as a civic organization. The other thing you need to keep in mind about Manly P. Hall, and a lot of people don't remember this, he wrote his most prominent book, The Secret Teachings of the Ages, about 40 years before he became a Freemason in California. So you need to be really careful as to how much you necessarily, how much of his work you take at face value. It is a want, negative space. It is a want. Freemasonry is like a club. You're absolutely right. It's a civic organization or a civic group. I think space is infinite. Again, I'm not a scientist. I study this stuff a little bit because I love physics. I think space is infinite. I don't think there's an end to it. I also think it's flat, for the record. Um, I'm not wearing my ring. I don't wear my ring because I'm in a wheelchair. And so what would happen is if I wear the ring, you would always hear this like sound every time and it would scratch up. And so I don't wear it. I keep it safe so I don't lose it. I also have it appraised and insured and all that stuff. I hope it doesn't. That makes me sad. Please hit like and subscribe. I think we are the only intelligent, I think we are the exclusive and single intelligent life in the universe. I have big hands. What are you talking about? Look at these hands. I have a tiny finger here. It's interesting because I was born missing my legs. For some reason, I also got this small pinky finger. I have no idea why. Tony Gruesome, please hit like and subscribe. No, Riley, I think I'm going to have to put you on a timeout because that's gross, but you should still hit like and subscribe. Um, yeah, I think, unfortunately, this is an issue with Albert Pike as well. The, um, the, what was I going to say? A lot of recessive genes. Um, let's talk flat Earth. The Earth is not flat. The Earth is a sphere. But no, I do think we are the exclusive intelligent life in the universe. I also do ask the question sometimes, if an alien came down to Earth and asked to join Freemasonry, would you let him join? Money says stolen valor. I don't know what that means. It sounds to me like you're implying I'm not a Freemason. I've been a Freemason since 2007. I can't ride bicycles, Nathan. I can't help you with that. I have no legs. I have my wheelchair, so I go with four wheels. Real men use four wheels, not two. That's my humble opinion on that. Sometimes that's true, Legend, but I don't think it has to be. I think this idea that suffering is necessary for greatness, I think greatness is an internal pursuit, whether you suffer or not. Sometimes I think people can find greatness in some ways due to a lack of suffering, in the sense that if the reason that you struggle to be great is because you're suffering and you're trying to overcome that suffering, you could argue that's like you could argue philosophically, the person who has no reason to challenge themselves, has no reason to struggle, could simply, live on a beach because they're rich and not do anything, and still chooses to engage in hard work and challenges. You could argue there's also a philosophical beauty to that. Whether you struggle because you must overcome things or whether you struggle because you choose to try to grow, both have a beauty to them. Because I was born this way, so I never had them, which I don't mind. When you're born without legs, one of the things is you're kind of forced to, you don't know any different, so it's just normal for you. And so because of that, you kind of learn how best to adapt to your circumstances. Hello, Cap WNS. Thank you for being here. You can, I mean, you could be autistic and join Freemasonry. I don't see why you couldn't. Glory be to Jesus Christ. What is the purpose of life? Well, I can tell you what I think the purpose of life is, but my suspicion is glory, you may have your own purpose. I can tell you the purpose to being here is to hit the like and subscribe button on this stream. I think that the purpose of life is to try to create a better life for those around you and be of service to others and the community, which I think is somewhat of a Masonic ideal. But if you want to know what Masons think the purpose of life is, you would have to ask each Mason, because every Mason will have his own answer to that question. Um, I don't think to live is always to suffer. There have been times in my life where living has felt like suffering. There's also been times in my life when living has felt wonderful. I think life can be both. Well, my name is Cameron. My name is also hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you, Cap. I appreciate it. I've had in the past high-ish blood pressure, never high enough that it's been necessary to be on medication. I've always managed to keep it under control. And I do try to exercise regularly, all of which helps big time in controlling blood pressure, at least so I'm told. So, um, LOL, hit the like and subscribe button, then maybe I'll shut up. Oven people, I am a traveling man. Both literally, I consider myself a professional traveler, and metaphorically, I am a Freemason. I've been a Freemason since 2007. Siffy, I'm the worst person to come to for relationship advice. I leave that up to you. But I love being a Freemason. That's why I'm on this channel. I talk about Freemasonry. Um, I give my ideas on it, my thoughts on it, and we just hang out and shoot the poop. They seem to, well, I mean, some Freemasons like me, some don't. No different than anything else in life. Some people like me, some people don't. Uh, I don't think it's a matter of how much or little I talk. Um, what made you know, Siffy? If you like and subscribe, I wouldn't answer because I wouldn't know the answer. I don't know about your relationship, and I'm the worst person to ask for advice. I became a Mason. So what made me want to become a Mason was my family. Now, they never told me to be a Mason or even encouraged me, but my dad was a Freemason. I remember going to lodge Christmas parties as a kid, going to lodge events, and it always just seemed like something I would naturally join, or I assumed I would join. But I think you also have to keep in mind there's a difference between the reason somebody joins and remains active. I joined without any plans as to how active or inactive I would be. I just joined because of family. But there was something that spoke to me about Freemasonry in a way that, nothing else really spoke to me. It's something that I just loved about it. In the same way I feel when I hear my favorite song. And so as a consequence of that, I guess I kind of grew to love it and remain active in it, and remain engaged in it. Count Limbo, I am a third degree Master Mason, which is the most important degree. I'm also an 18th degree Scottish Rite Mason. My favorite song, Oven People, is Simple Man by Leonard Skinner. My second favorite song, I always mention this because I don't think it gets enough love, is Prodigal Son by Blacktop Mojo. Um, Tony Gruesome, I never mention or talk about the modes of recognition, and in terms of I never confirm or deny what they are, whether they're handshakes or signs or whatever they may be or may not be. What I always say though is we have modes of recognition where we can, helps us confirm who is and isn't a Mason. It's just part of our Masonic ritual. If I was Jewish, demon time wouldn't make a difference. Um, Freemasonry does not discriminate based on people, based on their ethnicity, religion, or any other such factors. Masons are not the Illuminati, Will Vincent. They're separate groups. Illuminati started about 50 years after Freemasons. Um, let's not do that. Nobody should be deported on the basis of whether they're gay or straight. Um, I have questions about why we are here, why does evil exist, and what happens when we die. So I cannot answer any of those questions because those are, at least not from a Masonic perspective, those are religious or spiritual questions. Those are not questions that Freemasonry is really well defined or well set up to answer. If you want to know those things, you should look to religion. If you want to know, amongst other things, how to be perhaps a better citizen, a better community member, a better brother to those around you, metaphorically, Freemasonry may be one path to learn those things. Um, no, let's not deport anybody based on whether they're gay or straight, because that would be wrong. Um, to my understanding, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are not Freemasons. A lot of people think they see Masonic symbols and signs where there aren't any. They'll take a random hand gesture and assume, which is dumb. And that's not the case. That would be the Spock symbol, Count Limbo. Um, whether I'm part Jewish, fully Jewish, or not Jewish at all, I don't say because it's irrelevant. First of all, whether I was all Jewish, not Jewish at all, part Jewish, anywhere in between, it would not affect the type of person I am. That is something completely separate from my ethnicity or my religion. And second, this channel is about Freemasonry. Freemasonry does not discriminate based on somebody's ethnicity or religion. So that's why I don't answer the question as to whether I am or not Jew, am or am not Jewish. Trump is also not a Freemason to my knowledge. Vi, what you're saying there doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I've been a Freemason for 20 years. I would say the vast majority of Masons I've met are married. Definitely, I mean, this is kind of back of napkin math, but just thinking back on my Masonic career, I would say over 70% of Masons I've met are married, maybe 75. Obviously, the older they get, the more likely they are to be married. I've known several, people who joined Freemasonry when they were in their early 20s and they weren't married and then got married, at some point in their Masonic career. But I don't know where you're getting that statistic from. That seems crazy to me. My experience is the opposite. I would say a significant majority of Freemasons are married, so I don't know what you're talking about. Um, no, demon. Well, I mean, whether you are or not a Freemason, if you wanted to join Freemasonry because you want political power, then you should not become a Freemason because Freemasonry will not grant you political power, nor will it grant you fame, nor riches, nor influence. That's not what Freemasonry is about. So if you're planning to join it for those reasons, you're not going to be happy and you're not going to enjoy it. I mean, I think Freemasons are in a privileged position to make change by, engaging in charitable acts, helping those around them, and, supporting the brotherhood. But that's not the same thing as political power, and that's not what Freemasonry is about. Dallas, you can hit the like and subscribe button. Um, the rituals, I would not use the word gay to describe them. The rituals are, I don't even know what a gay ritual would be. That's a very silly thing to say. They are not. The rituals are historical in nature and borrow from many different traditions, primarily from stone masonry, but then also from Egyptian mysticism, from architecture, from Stoic philosophy, from in some cases Islam, Judaism, and everything in between. Freemasonry is kind of a hodgepodge. It's rituals of various different ideas, symbols, philosophies. Um, Winnipeg is the awesomest part of Canada. It's the center. Without Winnipeg, everything would just collapse in on itself like a pyramid. That'd be very Masonic in a way, the pyramid. But because Manitoba's in the center, if you got rid of Manitoba, Ontario would lean this way, Saskatchewan would lean this way, and Canada would just be a pyramid. We'd all be leaning to the side. I'm in Windsor, so I'd be leaning this way towards Saskatchewan, which, who wants to do that? I am definitely a Freemason. I've been a Freemason since 2007. I have my dues cards. My mother lodge is Windsor Lodge 403. I'm currently the worshipful master of Border Cities Lodge number 554. Um, um, Well, luckily, Freemasonry doesn't play with anything, including play with secrets. Freemasonry has private components to it or esoteric components to it, but it's not the same thing as quote unquote playing with secrets. Beetlejuice, I don't think about it in terms of levels. That's not the right way to think about it. Better way to think about it is either degree or offices. I am a third degree Master Mason. I am also a 18th degree Scottish Rite, and I currently have the office of Worshipful Master of Border Cities Lodge number 554. I don't think Washington, D.C. is Masonic design. I mean, there were Masonic elements within Washington, like the White House, for example, has a Masonic cornerstone in it somewhere, but it's not the same thing as saying it was designed to be Masonic. Um, I don't know if having prestige is the same thing as being a Master Mason. I'm not sure what that means. I think there can be some prestige sometimes to being a Mason in some cultures, if Freemasonry is an important part of the community, but Freemasonry, I don't think I wouldn't use the term prestigious to describe Freemasonry. I wish in some ways Freemasonry was more prestigious. I think one of the issues that we have in Freemasonry is as its relevance has declined, so too has its prestige, if that makes any sense. Um, so I've never met a Freemason who is satanic. Um, But I think that's a really interesting question you ask, Glory, and I think it says something. I mean, I don't mean to say this in a negative way about you personally, but I do think it says something negative about our society, which is this idea that people of different faiths or religions can't get along. I've been in Masonic lodges with Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Hindu, Sikh, indigenous members, and they've all been able to get along. I think Freemasonry, one of the greatest things about it, actually dates back to the Anderson Constitutions in 1723 and the idea of religious tolerance. And it's a beautiful, beautiful section. It's entitled Of God and Religion. And basically, it talks about the value of religious tolerance and being tolerant of people of different religions and still being able to work with them and work together to build something. In the case of a stonemason, to literally build something, a house, a wall. Because in stone Masonic guilds, you could have a workman who was Christian and a workman who was Muslim and a workman who was Jewish, all working together to build this house. They had to be tolerant of each other and get along. The idea that in a civic institution you all have to be of the same faith or you won't get along, I think, is a very dangerous idea. Um, in my opinion, Trump is definitely not the GOAT. I'm no fan of Donald Trump, but that's my personal opinion. The Freemasons are not a Jewish concept. The Freemasons are a concept of stone masonry. Peace Frog, please hit like and subscribe. I truly appreciate it. Um, yes, I do have a big nose. Please hit like and subscribe. No, you cannot, NBR. You cannot join the Freemasons on YouTube. You can join my channel on YouTube, but joining this channel does not make you a Freemason. I do wear the Masonic apron, not all the time, but at meetings I do. Say what you mean. It has been a while. I hope that you've been well also. Yes, there are Masons of many different ethnicities, black, white, Asian, indigenous, European, everything in between. Freemasonry does not discriminate based on race or ethnicity, or based on, for that matter, mother language, politics, religion. Well, I don't think I'm a joke, but fair enough. Hello, Gearhead Garage. Thank you for being here. Well, I'm not a big fan of the HH. I don't know what, I'm going to assume that means something not good, but okay. Silence and violence. How much masonry must I do before I'm no longer a low tier in the eyes of some people? Been a Mason for 20 years, almost 19 years. Been to over 1,000 Masonic events around the world. Been to events in the Philippines, in Brazil, in Colombia, across America, across Canada, Scotland, England, and yet it's still not enough. You shouldn't think about masonry in terms of levels or tiers. The best way to describe it is offices and degrees. I'm a worshipful master. I'm a past master. I'm an installing master. I don't know what more there is that I can be before it's sufficient. I've also researched all the degrees up to the 33rd, done some research on York Rite. I feel like I'm sufficient. And Masons are not a type of Nazi. I've talked about this before, but Nazi ideology and Freemasonry are actually opposed to one another. Freemasonry is about universal tolerance, acceptance, kindness. I would say Nazism is the opposite. Probably why Hitler banned Freemasonry in Germany. Um, Freemasonry is also not the same thing as Scientology. Um, Scientology, I don't know much about Scientology. To my understanding, Scientologists could be Freemasons because they believe in a supreme being, but it's not something I know a lot about to be able to say. I've never met a Scientologist who's a Freemason. Um, Hello, top of the morning to you from Ale. I would love to visit Alexandria. I really wish I could. Please hit like and subscribe, by the way. Um, Freemasonry, first of all, Freemasonry is not a cult, but it would not want to change whomever you worship. Freemasonry is not about, it's not a religion. So if you worship, when you say God, I assume you're referring to a Christian God. You would keep worshiping God before and after you're Freemason, or if you're Muslim, if you're Jewish, whatever you may be. No, Freemasonry is not interested in changing that. So Brian Hill, can you ever be kicked out or banned? I mean, I don't know if I'd use the term banned per se. You can definitely be suspended from Freemasonry. The most common way is, if you every year there are dues you need to pay to be a member. It's between $40 per year is the cheapest, up to I've heard as high as 500. It depends on the lodge, where it's located, how expensive it is. If you don't pay those dues, sometimes the lodge can suspend you. Very often, though, the lodge will just forgive the dues or maybe even pay them for you or give you a payment plan. If you commit a crime or a criminal act, you can be suspended or kicked out of Freemasonry for the criminal act. Because Freemasons are meant to be respectful of the country and the laws of the country in which they live. And committing a crime would be unmasonic. There's also sometimes unmasonic conduct, like if you're, you know, a jerk in the lodge or you're treating people unkindly, they may, suspend you. So it can happen. I've never heard the term banned before. There are some Masons who get suspended, but then over time, if they start to make different decisions, turn their life around, they come back to craft, come back to Freemasonry. Um, I mean, I would not disagree with you on that one. Silence of violence. I don't think any of us are using the tools that skillfully because it's a lifetime of learning. I would say, me personally, I'm probably one of the worst at using the tools, but I'm trying to get better. And every day I try to improve myself through perseverance and practice. I don't always succeed, but I try my best. Um, and I hope that every day I get a little bit better. But you're not wrong. I'm definitely not the most skillful user of the tools, metaphorically or literally. I can't build anything to save my life, to be honest. Demon time, my supreme being, um, the supreme being I believe in, um, is best described as the rational nature of the universe as understood through science and geometry. When you say the three pillars, do you mean these three pillars? Oh, shoot, you can't see them. Oh my gosh. If I could get a better view of it. I have, hold on one second. Do you see them there? Hold on, let me see if I can get a better view of it. Um, Come on. There they are. For the record, though, there are actually five pillars. Ionic, Doric, Tuscan, Corinthian, Composite. And that does not come from the Kabbalah, that comes from architecture and architectural history. So there you go, for whatever that's worth. Um, Again, Freemasonry borrowed a lot from architecture, which people tend to forget. But the five pillars, and these are architectural pillars, these are important architectural kind of, um, I'm trying to think what the word is, architectural templates that builders have used throughout history: Ionic, Doric, Corinthian, um, Tuscan, and composite. Um, a pillar, it's like a pillar that, you see them on banks and buildings all the time from Greece, just things that hold up buildings. My former Navy, awesome. I've said it a million times. Freemasonry is the story of um, stone and water. There have been so many naval officers who've been Freemasons throughout history, including, I guess, your captain. Um, Well, the checkerboard, the idea of opposing forces, good and evil, that's not an exclusively Kabbalistic thing. That dates back to Egypt, China, Rome, even before that. Um, and also keep in mind, the checkerboard is not a universal Masonic symbol in the same way, bees are not a universal Masonic symbol. Um, in emulation ritual, it's more often than not the mosaic pavement is what you're thinking of. XX Anime, what you should do is hit the like and subscribe button. My question to you is, are you a subscriber? Can you talk about Hiram Abiff? So, Hiram Abiff, I don't know if he exists or not. Like, let me rephrase. My suspicion is Hiram is actually a mythological figure. There's one reference of Hiram in the Bible, and it's not even, it's just Hiram, right? He supposedly was the chief builder in King Solomon's temple. My suspicion is he's a mythological figure, but is a composite of a lot of different builders and, chief heads and rulers of the building process at King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. I suspect King Solomon was a real person and a real, like, not just a mythological figure, but an actual human being, a human person. Hiram, I suspect, is a mythological figure. For me and my relationship to him, he reminds me of the value of hard work and steadfastness, which is what I'll say. That's what he represents to me personally. But again, what I love about Freemasonry is it is common experiences with individual interpretations. So every Freemason will have different ideas about Hiram Biff, and what he is and what he represents. Hiram used to be a very common name, I heard. I haven't heard it as like a name in use. I don't think I've ever met anybody named Hiram, but I understand it used to be a much more common name. Um, well, I think we all memorize the words and then learn the work as we go. Memorization is a place to start, but it's not a place to end. And it's definitely not all Jewish. Some of it is, some of it isn't. Um, when I say that, I mean Freemasonry borrowed from so many different things. I like, again, the pillars. I pointed out to you in the fact, right? You talked about three pillars. There's five, and this is not a Masonic thing. This is a architectural thing that Freemasonry borrowed in many different ways. But proportions, geometry, Euclid, all of those things are architectural or geometric in origin, not from the Jewish faith. So you need to keep in mind this idea that anybody who says Freemasonry is exclusively one thing does not know the history of Freemasonry or understand the fact that Freemasonry actually has borrowed or adopted symbols, ideas, philosophies, concepts from multiple different arenas throughout history. Even people don't realize Chinese mythology played a role in Freemasonry, or the Islamic faith, or Enlightenment era philosophy like Voltaire, Diderot, Condorcet, Ben Franklin, George Washington. All of these different people put their own spin and impact on Freemasonry for the better, for the record. Plum Gum, hello, please hit like and subscribe. I would truly appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, Freemasonry borrowed from Islam as well. If you don't believe me, take a look at the shrine and the red fez. I've also known many Islamic Freemasons. Um, I So, glory be to Jesus Christ. Why must morals come from a source outside of oneself? Um, I've heard people say that before. I don't think that necessarily stands true. My suggestion would be to look into the idea of the special theory of relativity in physics, this equation here, um, which demonstrates that time and the measurement of time actually need not come from an outside observer, but can be from within one's own reference frame, and consider how that may apply to questions of morality. Having said that, keep in mind Freemasonry has many Christian members. I would say the majority of membership are Christian, at least in North America, based on my experience. But again, Freemasonry is not religion. We also have Muslim members, Jewish members, Hindu, Sikh, Indigenous. That's one of the greatest things about Freemasonry, in my opinion, is how many members we have of different faiths. I think that's one of its greatest strengths. Um, Burger Sleuth, thank you for being here. I hope that you will sleuth and find that like and subscribe button. And I really appreciate you joining. I'm not sure. There are many Muslim Freemasons. I've sat in lodge with them. They're wonderful people. Um, I mean, Muslims in general are wonderful people. I've had a lot of Muslim friends, but Muslim Freemasons, I guess, are wonderful brothers, is what I should say. So glory be, just because it's one's own subjective opinion, that doesn't mean it's irrational. And I think rational morality allows us to make decisions that advance the common good and advance, what it is to be human and what it is to make the world a better place. Um, Welcome back. You should get to sleep. You're still, you have uh, altitude sickness. Get better. Um, I have traveled. I consider myself in some ways a professional traveler. I just got back from Colombia, actually, which was a beautiful place. Got to sit and lodge in Colombia, beautiful lodge room, one of the most beautiful lodge rooms I've ever seen. One of my favorite songs is Lost Together by Blue Rodeo. And in that song, the opening lines are strange and beautiful are the stars tonight that dance above your head. And when I sat in the lodge and looked up, their ceiling was full of stars and constellations and planets. It was this beautiful mosaic. It looked like a planetarium. And that's the first thing I thought of was that song. Again, strange and beautiful are the stars tonight that dance above your head. Corfus, please hit like and subscribe. Um, what I would say is I don't know what's on the roof of the Grand Lodge of England. I was there, but didn't get a chance to tour the building. I got a chance to check out their coffee shop and their museum, part of their museum and their gift shop, but none of the rooms. What I would say though is most Masonic lodges, I would say the vast majority, don't have a Star of David. They usually have a celestial canopy, which is the heavens, constellations, stars, especially in South America. One of the beautiful things about South American Freemasonry is a lot of their ceilings actually have stars and planets and astrological symbols on their ceilings, which again, Freemasonry borrowed from astrology and astronomy. Um, we do not have a god, mistletoe. Freemasonry is not a religion, so there is no Masonic quote unquote God. That is, each individual has his own supreme being. Could be of the Christian faith, the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith, whatever it might be. Um, well, mistletoe. I've been a Mason for 20 years, so there you go. Take it for whatever it's worth. What is SLC? I'm not sure to what that refers. The Earth is a globe in space. That's not a Masonic. That's scientists telling you that, as they should, because it is. And I'm not telling you that as a Mason. I'm telling you that as a human being with common sense who can observe things. Uh, denounce. I mean, okay, denounce Jabulon then, Mason. I will. I mean, I'm not going to denounce or not denounce anybody's faith. I'd be like, I mean, I guess I could because I have no opinion. I don't even, sure, I denounce Jabulon if that makes you happy. Um, Keep in mind that doesn't mean anything because Freemasonry is not a religion and it does not have any particular faith to which it belongs. Again, Freemasonry is not a religion. What Freemasonry is a civic organization or a civic group. Um, it does not have a particular God. You look like Brad Pitt. Again, I've sat in lodge with Muslim Freemasons, Jewish Freemasons, Christian Freemasons, Hindu, Sikh, indigenous Masons such as myself, who don't follow a particular religious faith but believe in a supreme being, um, in more of a spiritual sense. Salt Lake City. No, I have not. I mean, look, Mormonism, absolutely, the founder of the Mormon faith was a Freemason. Joseph Smith, if I'm getting his name correct, he was a Freemason, famously, and supposedly he borrowed a lot of symbols and ideas from Freemasonry when developing the Mormon faith. I can't speak to it because I'm not a Mormon myself. I know there are Mormon Freemasons. What I would say about that though is I wouldn't use the term there are children. I don't think that's appropriate. Because I don't think that's fair to them. They're their own organization and their own group. In the same way, like we as Freemasons borrowed many symbols, ideas, philosophies from different groups when developing Freemasonry, it's only fair that then other groups borrow from us as well. I'm not going to knock them for that. I really can't when we took so much from other groups that came before us. Um, Jay, I'm not sure why, because many people take oaths. Police officers take oaths, doctors take oaths, the military take oaths. Um, um, uh, you go to court, you take an oath to tell the truth. There are many different people in society who, based on it could be their profession or joining a different groups or organizations, need to take oaths. It's very silly to despise them all. If you get sick, I hope you're willing to go to a doctor and you're not going to despise them for taking the Hippocratic Oath, for example. Um, how many presidents were Freemasons? 14 to 15. Some would argue as high as 16. It depends on. There's a couple where it's questionable, like whether Joe Biden is a Freemason or not. That's up for debate. I think he is, or I consider him to be one myself. Um, some don't consider JB or LBJ, excuse me, to be a Freemason because he was first degree. I consider him to be a Freemason. It just depends on how you define it. But I would say 15 or 16. Well, Masons do accept the Muslim faith. I've known many Muslim Freemasons. Again, great brothers, and I'm proud of the religious tolerance shown within Freemasonry. Sam, by not being racist. Um, well, so Vi Victe, I'm not going to confirm or deny information about the 33rd degree, but I am going to ask you this question. Um, let us say that within Freemasonry, you removed the 33rd degree. Like, let's say it no longer existed. What would happen to Freemasonry? What would happen is for 99% of Freemasons, there would be no difference within the craft or within their experiences. Freemasonry would exist exactly as before. For that 1%, 99% of their Masonic journey would be exactly the same. They would just have one less degree. You need to be so careful about treating any one particular degree as being representative of the whole. That's very silly. That's like treating one football player as being representative of the team. They're all individuals and they all have their own place on it. If you do want to say what matters within Freemasonry or what's important, you shouldn't look at the top. That's silly. You should look at the first 3 degrees. It is within those 3 degrees, if you removed them, if you removed the craft lodge from Freemasonry, Freemasonry would cease to exist. If you removed the 33rd degree from Freemasonry, 99.9% of it would not change at all. And also, there is no rank in Freemasonry. So I've given this story to you before, Vi Victe. Um, I'm the worshipful master of a lodge. In that lodge, there was one entered apprentice, if you want to call it the lowest degree in Freemasonry. There were 6 third degree Masons, and there was one 33rd degree Mason. And there was a motion and there was a vote. The 33rd degree Mason voted one way, everybody else voted the other way. And guess what? The motion passed. So the 33rd, even though he was a 33rd, he had no power, no influence, no say in the lodge to any higher extent than anybody else. He got one vote, he lost, and the vote went the other way. So this idea of putting all this emphasis on a single degree in Freemasonry, it's silly and it doesn't demonstrate what Freemasonry actually is. I could understand your argument maybe if the 33rd degree had some type of power or were controlling what happens in a lodge, but they don't have power, nor do they control what happens in a craft lodge or in a blue lodge. So it's just a misunderstanding of what Freemasonry is and how it operates. The earth is not completely flat. Um, Whoa, I missed a lot of comments. Holy cow. The earth is not flat. The earth is a sphere. I can observe that based on ships going over the horizon. What is Prince Hall Freemasonry? So Prince Hall Freemasonry started in 1776. I hope I got the date right. Forgive me if I didn't. There was a gentleman by the name of Prince Hall. He was a black man. He applied to join a Masonic lodge in Boston and was denied due to his skin color. Unfortunately, despite the fact that the Masonic philosophy is one of universality and tolerance, Freemasons are people. They're not immune from the prejudices of their time. And unfortunately, they had some racist members in the lodge who declined his membership. He then joined Freemasonry out of the Grand Lodge of Ireland, actually a military lodge. But then he realized other Masons who may not have the ability to join a lodge in Ireland or through Ireland, who are black, other black men who may not have the ability to join Irish lodges, maybe declined membership. So he started Prince Hall Freemasonry. And that was an avenue for black men to join Freemasonry and to know they would be accepted and welcomed. It's a wonderful organization. They have lodges all around the world. In 2026, you know, again, and since I joined Freemasonry, there's been black men in my lodge, every different race. Freemasonry does not discriminate, thankfully. Having said that, you know, historically speaking, Prince Hall was a refuge, an organization, a place for black men to join Freemasonry. It's a very important part of the history of Freemasonry and the history of America. It still exists. For a lot of people who are, especially if you're African American or black, you may want to join a Prince Hall Lodge for the historical connection to, you know, historical connection and as like being a place for black men historically. It's funny. I have really kind of mixed feelings about it in the sense that I hate the fact that it formed because of the racist attitudes of some Boston Freemasons, but I'm so grateful for it to be part of the Masonic family and what it contributed to Freemasonry. So, you know, there you go. Well, I don't put Freemasonry first. In fact, within Freemasonry, we're taught not to put Freemasonry first. We are taught to put our family and our work and even our deity ahead of Freemasonry. No, there have been some, so that's not the case, Master Knight. There have been Masons who are some Masons who are astronauts, but not the majority. I mean, famously, Buzz Aldrin was a Freemason, and actually he brought a Masonic charter to the moon, which is a cool bit of Masonic trivia, but, you know, he's the exception. In my experience, I think I know of 4 Freemasons who are astronauts. Buzz Aldrin, John Glenn, and a couple others I can't think of off the top of my head now. but most were not. We do not have to call each other master. Most people will just call you brother or call you Cameron or call you by your name. There is the master mason, but that's no different than being a master builder, a master carpenter, a chess master, right? Master in various forms is just a rank denoting a certain skill level and ability. But it doesn't reference like master in any other sense. In the same way, I've been studying a lot of chess lately. Chess has masters. That doesn't mean they're a master in a religious sense. Um, yes, it is. It is basically it's the King Solomon Bible, or sorry, King James Bible. The difference is there's a space in the front for Masons to sign and give it as a gift to those who join. Um, well, I wouldn't call Jesus master of the universe because I am not Christian necessarily, but I know many Christian Freemasons who would say Jesus is master of the universe. If you're Christian, Mistletoe, that's awesome, right? I think the Christian faith is a wonderful faith. I know a lot of people who are Christian. They're good people and they help make our communities and the world better. I don't think King James was a Mason. I don't know when King James was Dustin Green. That's pretty harsh. I don't hate you. I'm trying to think when King James was alive, even. Um, I don't know. So it was published in 1611. I mean, the first speculative Masons that we know of were 1634 in Scotland. So maybe he was a Mason at some point, King James I of England. I don't think he was, though. Light blue. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well as also. I don't think Jay-Z is a Freemason. I've heard some conspiracy rumors that he is. I think it was based on him being photographed at a Prince Hall event, I think. But I don't think he is a Freemason. Please, everybody watching this, take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. It helps this channel out majorly. Consider a super chat, just 99 cents. Well, I believe in a higher power that is best understood as the rational nature of the universe as expressed through geometry. And I mean, there are many men who are not just in Freemasonry who are my quote unquote master in the sense that they have mastered something I have not. So, there are, again, I play chess, but I would consider, for example, Magnus Carlsen my master in the realm of the chess world. But that just means he's more well skilled in chess than I am. He couldn't order me around and tell me what to do, certainly. He knows more about me than chess. In the same way, there are many people who have mastered Freemasonry and have a greater amount of skill in Freemasonry than I do. And I consider myself to have mastered some elements of Freemasonry as compared to others, but that doesn't make me their master in any, real sense, just in the sense that I have mastered more skills in Freemasonry, whether it be the ability to organize a meeting, to hold a degree, to use my working tools in a metaphorical sense, to administer a lodge, things of that nature. Hello, Gunner Experience. Please hit like and subscribe. So Vi Victe, I would be hesitant about the William Morgan thing because William Morgan owed a lot of money to a lot of people. He famously escaped from a debtor's prison before he went missing. It's possible the people he owed money to caught up with him, or he escaped to Canada. Or it's possible the Freemasons at the time became stupid and, did decide to throw him over a lake, though we don't know what happened to him. Freemasons can do dumb things as well, right? Passions get the best of people. You get angry. I will say, since the Regius poem, though, Freemasons have always been instructed, A, to obey the laws of the country in which they live or work or travel to, and if they see any Masons committing crimes, to advise the authorities immediately, lest the craft be brought into disrepute. I do not worship Lucifer, and I've never met any Masons who do. So Albert Pike screwed us all with his book in that one section, but that's because people assume that Albert Pike spoke for Freemasonry, and he did not. He spoke for his own personal views, which is not representative of Freemasonry. At best, it's representative of the southern jurisdiction of Scottish Rite. Even then, though, I'd question it. Required to read what? I'm not required to read Morals and Dogma. I've never heard of any Mason being required to read Morals and Dogma. Some choose to. I've read it myself, but I mean, even in the Scottish Rite, I've never heard of any Masons being required to read Morals and Dogma. But certainly no craft Mason is required. And again, craft is the foundation on which everything else rests. If you removed Scottish Rite from Freemasonry, it would still exist. It wouldn't be the same, and a lot of wonderful parts of it would be missing, and I'd be very sad. But if you want to know, the basis upon which all Freemasonry rests, it's not Morals and Dogma, it's not Albert Pike, it's the craft degrees and it's stone Masonic guilds. That's what matters. Trabs, I am a Mason, and you should hit like and subscribe. It's Andrew. I can tell you the point of being here is to like and subscribe. The point of Freemasonry, there is no single point of Freemasonry. Rather, within Freemasonry, everybody has to come to their own conclusion. I can tell you, for me, the point of Freemasonry is to strive to build a better world through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. Some people use the general term, I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest, to make good men better. I don't like that very much. I think there's approximately 850,000 Freemasons in the United States. If you want to know what the point of Freemasonry is, you have to ask each one of them what their personal point of Freemasonry is. I do not love Satan. I am not a Kabbalist Jewish person. Whether I'm Jewish or not is up to, it wouldn't make a difference to being a Freemason. So Albert Pike, he was, at least we know he was racist. I think he might have been pro-slavery. Although it's interesting, Albert Pike, as he got older, he started to mediate his views on, it seemed to, or at least soften his views on, he became seemingly less racist. He actually had some positive things to say about Prince Hall Freemasonry later in his life, which is a very interesting thing. Maybe some Masonic principles of tolerance made it through. Sean, so I am a third degree Master Mason. I don't like the term Blue Lodge, Red Lodge. I prefer Craft Lodge. I'm also 18th degree Scottish Rite. Never joined York Rite. I do not have a special hat. I think you're referring to the Fez, Henry, which is a Shriner hat. I'm not a Shriner. Well, the reason I don't say whether I'm Jewish or not Jewish is because I feel like the people who, will either ask me if I'm Jewish or will, in some points, just, it almost takes on this weirdly accusatory tone. They'll say like Jew in all capital letters or something, and which feels vaguely accusatory, is, if this channel is about Freemasonry, then I really want to emphasize the universal tolerance aspect of Freemasonry and that it welcomes all people. So my ethnicity should be completely irrelevant. But if I say, if I answer whether I am Jewish or not, either way, it feels like I'm, in the same way I don't, say anymore whether I'm gay or straight. It's because it doesn't make any difference to what I'm talking about or what I'm discussing, which is Freemasonry, right? It shouldn't matter. It's kind of like if I went in to get a job at, I don't know, if I went in to get a job as a painter, went to paint somebody's house, and they asked me if I was gay or if I was Jewish or if I was anything else, if I was Catholic, if I was this ethnicity, if I was that ethnicity, if I was this religion, it shouldn't make a difference to my skill and ability to paint the house. And in the same way, this, whether I'm Jewish or not Jewish, whether I'm gay, whether I'm straight, whether I'm Catholic, whether I'm Protestant, whatever I am, it doesn't make a difference to my ability to talk about being a Freemason and the things I love about it. And if I start to, answer these questions, it feels like I'm throwing groups under the bus, which I don't ever want to do. Um, I have no idea what those fish mean, but thank you for putting them in there. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Um, well, I don't know why mistletoe. That's a really weird. Again, I think I'm not saying you're sad, but I'm saying I think your statement is a very sad commentary on kind of what we have in 2025, which is this idea that groups that have different religious beliefs or people that have different religious beliefs cannot get along, which to me seems crazy. Um, in civic society, if we're going to have a civic society, we need to be able to get along with people of different religious faiths. And we need to be able to coexist in different spaces, whether they be workspaces or civic spaces, clubs, groups, organizations. They should all be able to get along together in some sense, right? The idea that everybody needs to be of the same faith to be able to get along, that seems crazy to me and pretty unhealthy as well. Um, sure, but I've never met any Illuminati. Illuminati really doesn't exist in any meaningful way. But I could be friends with Knights of Columbus. I could be friends with, I could be friends with whomever I so choose. I never really practiced, but I went to law school and I graduated. I articled for a legal aid firm. Um, well, I would, I don't what I'll say is people have the right to question whatever they want. Whether the reasons they have for questioning are good or not, I'm a little bit more skeptical of. I tend not to see a lot of good reasons. It seems to be based on a lot of hoaxes, which again, I guess in some ways, like if you're not a Mason and maybe you're struggling in different ways, a hoax, how you necessarily know if it is or isn't a hoax, I suppose you could argue that is a good reason. I'm not so sure there are good reasons. Having said that, everybody has the right to have their reasons for questioning Freemasonry, and people have the right to question things, right? It's not my place to tell anybody what they should or should not question. I guess what I can do is try to be on YouTube and, as best as I possibly can, describe why I love Freemasonry and why I think what it is that I love about it, and hope that maybe get some people to reconsider. Um, we allow Masons in. I don't know what that means. Are you saying Freemasons don't allow stonemasons? I mean, Freemasonry is a group. Stonemasons are a vocation. I've known stonemasons who are Freemasons, or at least heard of them. I do think, though, we in Freemasonry need to spend more time focusing on our stonemason roots. I do think that's a big problem we have, is not focusing enough of our energy and learning on stonemasons and stonemasonry. Because stonemasonry, it's where we come from. It's the most important part of our Masonic journey is stonemasonry. So I'd like to learn more about it personally, um, and do more podcast episodes about it as well. Um, awesome, Red Mesa. Awesome, Red. My grandfather was a Mason as well. I don't think he was Scottish Rite, but he was a Master Mason. Actually, both my grandfathers were, interestingly enough. So, well, even the profane, I'm not a big fan of that term. I've almost never heard Masons use the word profane to describe non-Masons. I mean, we do open houses all the time. We welcome Masons into our lodge rooms. In some cases, including the temple room or the lodge rooms. Now, if there's a meeting going on, they won't be allowed in because it's a private meeting. But if there's no meeting, they can go and check out the lodge room. We do open houses and tours all the time. Um, You're absolutely right. I mean, again, Freemasonry, or sorry, America was not founded exclusively on Enlightenment era principles, but it absolutely was founded in part on Enlightenment era principles, as was Freemasonry. It wasn't exclusive, but it's a big part of it. Um, I do not study the Talmud, um, so I cannot speak to the Talmud. I know a little bit about the Torah, which, if I recall correctly, is the first five books of the Bible. Um, I am a traveling man. I'm both literally, like I consider myself a traveler, like a professional traveler, and Masonically, I've been a Mason since 2007, so almost 20 years, which is insane to think it's been that long. Um, and I'm currently the worshipful master of Border Cities Lodge number 554 out of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Um, Carlos, I don't know what you're talking about. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'm almost at 3,190 subs. I'm almost at 3,200 subs. Who knows? Maybe I'll get there. You know, if today goes well, maybe I'll get there today when I do my 1 p.m. stream. I've been to the East. I'm in the East. I'm not a big fan of the kind of these terms. The worshipful master sits in the East, so yes. I've also been in the East many times in the past, because the lodge of which I'm the master currently is the third lodge I joined. I'm also a past master of Windsor Lodge 403 and Harmony Lodge 579. I opened the lodges for people to see. And I'm happy I did so. I think Freemasonry needs to open up its lodges and let the public see the buildings and how beautiful they are and how relevant they are to our communities. Um, Tell us about Masonic ciphers. Read um, The Lost Symbol. There's some Masonic cipher information in there, and it's a good book. 98, please hit like and subscribe. I hope you're doing well. We'll be ending this stream soon because it is 2:36 in the morning, and I need to get some sleep at some point. I hope you guys will check out the stream I did earlier today where I gave my suggestions for Masonic New Year's resolutions. Resolutions that you can do to, grow within Freemasonry in 2026. Having said that, I hope that you guys will also maybe consider giving me your Masonic suggestions for 2026 or your Masonic resolutions for 2026. No worries, Mikey. I still appreciate you being here very much. Also, don't forget, tomorrow at 11 p.m., I'm going to be on my personal YouTube channel, youtube.com/Cameron Adamson, around 11 o'clock. And I'm going to count down the new year. It should be a lot of fun. So I hope that you guys will check that out. Vi, if you want to hang out there and we don't have to talk about Freemasonry, we can just talk about the new year and how much fun it's going to be. And how we're all hopefully going to have a great 2026. I know I'm looking forward to it. I hope that you guys are looking forward to it as well. Yes, these are always interesting. Actually, usually the chat doesn't always let you put in links. It's at Cameron Adamson. So Mikey UCC, if you go to at Cameron Adamson, youtube.com, you will find it there. Also follow me on Instagram. If you don't, I'll put in a link for that. Hello, NW. I hope you're doing well. Saying hi with a lot of eyes. At @square_and. That is for Instagram. Please follow me there. Mark Roy, not tonight, because I'm going to be ending the stream shortly. Interesting enough, my poll question Do you think Detective Loki Prisoners was a Freemason? No at 59%, yes at 41%. So the no's are winning. Um, we're going to give this a little bit more time, please, just because I'm enjoying this. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great stream. I'm hoping to maybe get a couple more subscribers before I go, though I've got a ton and it's been wonderful. Put name. I have no idea why you can drive your car backwards if you if gravity is real. I feel like you should be able to drive your car backwards if gravity is real. All right, you want a fact about New Zealand? It really hurts 2092. The first Masonic Lodge in New Zealand was established in 1842, chartered under the Grand Lodge of Ireland, the Lodge of Era number 348 IC. So deal with that. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a fact I had to Google, but still, it should count for something. I've been at this for about 5 years, but it's been in the last year that I've really started focusing on live streams, which is where most of my growth is. There is no smoking in lodge, yes. But sometimes people have broken that rule, and sometimes after lodge, brethren will gather for cigars. It's been known to happen. I'm seeing, though, pretty excellent growth. For example, in the last 28 days, I have attracted 10,850 new viewers, which is an increase of 128.3%. So I'm grateful for everybody who helps make this possible. Can anyone join the Masons? So to join the Masons, you have to, first of all, be an adult, be of the correct age. In America, that's usually 18 or older. In Windsor, you need to be over 21. You need to believe in a supreme being, and you need to go through the application process, get to know the lodge, and they need to vote on you. That's the third step. So certainly anyone, though, who is over the age of 18 and believes in a supreme being can at least approach a lodge and request, more information and a desire to join. If you're a man, you would join the fraternal side of the order, fraternal side of Freemasonry, or you can join the Order of Women Freemasons or Co-Masonry if you're a woman, or Eastern Star as well is an option that's available. Bradley Bear, please hit like and subscribe. It's me, Randall Booyah. Please hit like and subscribe. This is what I talked about when people write Jew in there. That sounds to me a little bit accusatory. Whether I'm Jewish or not, it does not make a difference. I'm a Freemason. That's what matters. Kyler, whether I'm transgender or not, does not make a difference. What matters is I'm a Freemason. Actually, that's a good question. Chicago, are you from Chicago? I love Chicago. I've written about Chicago a ton and done a ton of videos about Chicago. I love Chicago. I love Chicago Freemasonry. It is absolutely incredible. Thank you, 6674, for subbing. Chai City, in my opinion, greatest city in the world, without question. Legitimately the greatest city in the world. Whenever I go to Chicago, I actually stay in Glenview. Like I'll be in Chicago during the day often, but I'll actually stay with friends in Glenview, Illinois, which is about 40 minutes north. It's a northern suburb. It's around Skokie, Morton Grove, Gulf. Okay, why is it called Freemasonry? There's two possible reasons, and I've heard both explanations. I tend to go with the former. The first is that it refers to freedom as in freedom of movement, particularly the ability to travel and earn a wage around the world. If you wanted to be a mason, like a stonemason, and build things and shape stone and build houses out of stone to earn an income for yourself and your family, when you started, you were an entered apprentice. And what that meant is You were basically stuck working under the master builder who was training you, and you could not travel. You had to stay at one particular job site with the master until he had taught you enough that you had mastered the art. Then you could be a fellow craft and you had more freedom, but eventually you could become free to basically set out on your own. You were sufficiently well trained and you were now a Freemason in the sense that you could travel from England to Spain to Ireland to Africa to France, put yourself out as a Freemason and work on different job sites for different, supervisors and different buildings and different um, job sites. That's why actually in the Regius poem, so much of it is about how to act at different courts of different kings. Because if you're a Freemason and you're traveling for work, you need to know how to act with, the court where you're staying, with the king who hires you, the different customs of the different communities. So Freemason meant free as in free to travel, or free referred to a specific type of stone called freestone, which was a type of limestone that was basically, it was so brittle you could just pull it from the quarries. You did not need to like chisel it out, so it was called freestone. And Freemasons were a specific type of stonemason that could work with that stone. It was particularly skilled mason. So those are the two. Um, it does not mean free from Egypt. I never heard that before. I am a traveling man. So, I mean, that's why, if you think about it though, that has always been the case when it comes to craftspeople. There's a reason why craftsmen or people in the trade unions are called journeymen, whether they're electricians, carpenters, stonemasons, knitters, like people who work with knitting, or fabric. I can't think of the term now. Um, Nitter for the record, knitting, uh, like whatever it is. If you were um, selling your services as a craftsman, you were called a journeyman because you would journey from job site to job site. So, yeah, like an independent mason, absolutely. So Sean, well, Mormonism, again, it's not something I know much about. I know the founder of Mormonism was himself a Freemason. I heard he borrowed a fair bit from Freemasonry when developing Mormonism, but I can't blame him too much for that since, we within Freemasonry borrowed a ton of stuff from different groups that came before us. So, there is that as well. Let's give it a couple more minutes. I was going to end the stream, but we're getting some new people joining. So let's see. So Chicago scorecards. If you don't mind my asking, what part of Chicago are you from? I hope you'll follow me on my other channel, youtube.com/@CameronAdamson, where I have a bunch of videos from Chicago. Also, I wrote a Medium story about how much I love Chicago. I hope you'll find me on Medium. My primarily my knowledge of Chicago is the Loop. It's where I spend most of the time. Though I have spent a fair bit of time also in the Lincoln Park area, um, also in the Jefferson Park area. I spent a lot of time at the Jefferson Park, the Blue Line, going to Jefferson Park because there's a Masonic Temple steps from the Jefferson Park Blue Line CTA stop. So, if Chicago Man is still there, Chicago Soccer. And Chicago Soccer, please also hit like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. I did not know that. I mean, I try my best not to be kind of a slander of anybody's religion if you're Mormon, but you find comfort and faith and, a comfort within the Mormon faith, then good for you. And I'm sure for many people it helps them find their kind of a moral center. I think there's one Mormon I can think of, but he was a really good dude. So I'm not going to be a reviler of anybody's faith. Let's give it another couple minutes just to see who else may join. Then we'll end the stream. Be back on at 1 p.m. December 31st. Cure? Yes, I got a big nose. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. You as well. Maybe you can join me on my personal channel. It'd be fun to see you there tomorrow at 11 p.m. as we go to midnight together. We will find ourselves in 2026. That's crazy. I mean, I'm 42. I remember when 2026 like didn't exist. When I say that, I mean like the idea of thinking that far ahead was insane. Nobody would think, in the 80s, the idea of thinking about what life would be like in 2026 and the 90s. Awesome, Sean. I look forward to seeing you there. I do want to start doing more stuff on that channel as well, because I feel like I have kind of been ignoring my personal YouTube channel in favor of this one. Not that I don't love this one. This is where my heart is, but I have other interests outside of Freemasonry, that I don't want to see forgotten. So, such as scary movies. It's going to be a great year. I have no doubt. All right, guys. I'm going to be ending this stream. Back on tomorrow, 1 p.m. I'll see you then. Have a great night.